Okay, here we go. I'm going to talk you through how to answer this question. So this is for you guys, it'll be your Shakespeare question. I'm looking at a Macbeth question first, and we'll see how well it goes. Now, I'm not aiming to get those grade 9s. You can watch Mr. Bruff for that. But what I want you guys to understand is when you go into the exam, exactly what it is you need to do to actually get marks. So, for example, how are you going to get to your grade 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, okay? So the first thing we do is we don't panic. We read the question. So this question says, I'm trying to hold my phone very, very still. It says, read the following extract from Act 2, Scene 2, then answer the question that follows. At this point in the play, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are in conversation. It's Fenton you can hear jump around in the background. Macbeth has just killed Duncan and has returned with the daggers he used to kill him, so you'll remember that section. Lady Macbeth. Who was it thus cried? Why, worthy Thane, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain-sickly of things. Go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring the daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go, carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood. Then Macbeth says, I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I've done. Look on't again I dare not. Lady Macbeth says, Infirm of purpose, give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted doll. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt. So, a couple of bits and pieces on there. What do we need to do? The first thing we do is we read through the text, which we've just done, and then we read through the question itself. Starting with this extract, write about how Shakespeare presents the relationship between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Write about how Shakespeare presents their relationship in this extract, how Shakespeare presents their relationship in the play as a whole. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get my highlighters. Let's go with pink. Now I'm going to look through this text, and I'm going to look for how Shakespeare presents the relationship between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. So I need to highlight relationship, in case I forget, Macbeth, and Lady Macbeth. Okay, and then the extract, and then the play as a whole. Now, let's look in the extract, how we can see their relationship. So potentially, I'm going to just look for keywords. If I struggle with everything else, I'll look for some keywords. Oh. So you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain-sickly of things. So essentially, she's telling me he's been a bit pathetic. So she describes him as having noble strength. Okay, keep going through. She is quite bossy. They must lie there. So we've got a short sentence. So before I go any further, I'm going to write an annotation about each of those. Just a little comment to tell me what I was thinking when I wrote them. So noble strength, reminding him. Oh, so I do this, hang on. Him, that he is powerful and needs to get his emotions under control. Okay? He's powerful, needs to get emotions under control. They must lie there. Oh. Focus is not great. There we go. They must lie there. So she's being very bossy. So LM, Lady Macbeth. Very bossy. Telling M what to do. Now, would Shakespeare's audiences have appreciated a woman telling a man what to do? Probably not. They would not have appreciated that. Women were not supposed to tell men how to behave. Remember the rules we learned about in Shakespeare's society. So in Elizabethan England, Jacobean England, women were supposed to stay at home, have children, not tell their husbands what to do. So Lady Macbeth doesn't stay at home and have children. She's a bossy pain in the backside. Okay? Let's move a little bit further forward. So then Lady Macbeth is finished. Macbeth says, I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I've done. Look on again, I dare not. So he's thinking all about himself. So I'm trying to pick out the simple language that I know you guys can understand. So the word I, you know what the word I means? I. So he repeats the word I 4 times in 3 lines. That's really important because it shows he's only worrying about himself. So worrying about himself. Okay, just made that little comment there, worrying about himself. He's not thinking how she's coping. He's just thinking, oh mate, I've just killed someone, that's pretty bad. Okay, look once again, I dare not. So he seems less brave. So seems less brave than Lady Macbeth. So the audience at this point are going to be thinking, come on mate, she can do it, you need to man up and get on with it. So she's like, oh, come on, have a laugh. Infirm of purpose, so you're not worth anything, but don't worry. So I'm leaving the one, so this one I'm going to leave because I think it's one that we might not understand. So let's try and find the ones we do understand. So give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. And I think we would understand that one. So we've got a simile there. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. Okay. Now what that essentially is saying is that sleeping, dead people doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter. It's not going to scare me. So she's not afraid of going near the body. Just so you're aware, this is the clicking noise you can hear behind you. This is Fenton. He's irritated me, so just thought you might know what that clicking noise is. Okay? Now he's stopped, that's a lot better. So, we've gone through, we found a few different points. I've got 3 points in there I'm more than happy to talk about. Brilliant, fantastic. I'm then going to move on a little bit, because as it says, extract, and the play as a whole. So I'm now going to have a little think about when Lady Macbeth and Macbeth show their relationship to be something that might surprise the Jacobean audience. So one thing I'm now thinking about, so I'm going to write down in my notebook here, which I'd have a piece of lined paper. So I'm going to make a note, and I'm going to say, when Lady Macbeth, so where am I? Lady Macbeth tells Macbeth to look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. Now I'm picking that one because I remember it. Quotation marks at the end there, because I remember it. I don't need to remember whereabouts it was, I just remember it happening. Okay, and I think this is showing more control from Lady Macbeth. It's showing that she rules him, and really importantly, she compares him to a flower. It's quite girly, really, isn't it? So it's quite feminine. Ooh. But also compares him to a snake. And I know that in the Bible, and kind of in life, snakes are dangerous. In the Garden of Eden, spread poison as words and as murder. Snakes murder people all the time. Okay, so I've got some ideas now. I've got a link from where I am here, so my different ideas, talking about how she feels and how he feels in their relationship together, linking to the rest of the extract. Okay, so what I want to start to do now is think about my opinion. So before I write anything down, before I start my essay, I'm going to say my main opinion is that Lady Macbeth controls Macbeth and forces his hand, because I think he does. I think he does what he needs to do to make her happy, essentially. Okay, so then what I need to think about doing before I start writing again is think about my historical context. Okay, so I'm going to think about, so let's go with, we've got Queen Elizabeth, so Elizabeth, just dead, controversial. Right, well I can't fit that on the page, never mind, controversial, because a woman and, let's keep it simple, and brought questions of religion. More shockingly, she never married. Goodness me, why would you? She never married. So I might talk about Queen Elizabeth having that power and wanted to control the country, and maybe Shakespeare, now she's died, potentially drawing into question whether that was okay or not, because realistically he's trying to suck up a little bit to the new king, King James, who's come down from Scotland. Okay, so Macbeth, as we know, was written about, what's his name, King James, his ancestors. Okay, so now I've got my information. How do I get it into a paragraph? All I've done is pick out a few ideas here, write a little comment about them, and then I've made a few bullet points here. Okay, so I told you about these layout before in lessons. I'm going to recap it for you now. We've got, can't hold the page, I'm up to write on this one. We've got point, evidence, where are we about? Probably evidence there. Technique, effect, and then refer to audience and context. So my point, first of all, is that Lady M controls M, and you're going to give me more detail about that. My evidence from the text would be they must lie there. Okay, technique. Oh, I'm going to give it short sentence. Why not? Talk about structure for a little bit. Okay, and then I have to explain the effect on the audience of the language, and then refer to context. Okay, I'm going to try and do that times 3, and then I'm going to do one of those, so +1 from elsewhere in the text. So 3 from extract and 1 from elsewhere in the text. Once I've done that, sorted, absolutely perfect. Okay, lovely.